We are, if you put it into presentation mode.
How's that?
We're good. Thank you, sir.
Well, Simon, thank you very much for that introduction, and thank you for having me here tonight. And hello, everyone. As you said, I'm Bryant Santini. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Casino Arizona Talking Stick Resort. I've been with the company a little over 11 and a half, almost 12 years now. I've tried to take 3 vacations in that time period. One time I went to Argentina with my wife, and as we walked into the door of our hotel, I got a call saying that the FBI was performing a sting operation on a set of international hackers that were trying to break through into different casinos. So I spent most of my Argentinian vacation in my room talking and working with FBI agents. This year, we were supposed to be in Italy right now, and that got canceled as well. And then finally on my birthday in August 10th of 2016, I got a call about 4 a.m. Letting me know that our casino was down and that there was water everywhere. And I didn't really understand what they were talking about until you got up and take a look at it. So I'm going to walk you through one of the most horrific events that I've ever been involved in. And naturally, they all have to deal with my vacation. So I really appreciate Sim bringing up another issue that I've had on my vacations, and I can relive those things with you all. So anyways, our agenda, I'm going to take you through a video. It's about 13 minutes long. There is music, but you can't really hear it, so I will narrate it for you so you get an idea of what's going on in that video. I'll talk about the impact of the business and what we did. I'll show you some of the matrices that we went through, what things we had to make on our priorities, what we did to get back to business, and I'll answer any of your questions along the way, or you can wait till the very end if you'd like. But I'd like to keep this interactive, so anything you'd like to talk about with this, please let me know. So, you know, our disaster recovery plan, it's important to have a plan. It's important to have an extensive plan. It's just how far do you want to take your plan, right? You know, if your data center's down, that's one aspect. But when your whole building is down, but yet you still have to run business because you have another casino 5 miles down the road, you need to really start thinking about how you can make that all work. There are laws, rules for engagement with casinos. The gaming systems must be on site. So if you think about it, we were gaming all day. We had a great time. People it was a weekend. It was a wonderful day. We made a lot of money that day. The problem was when the systems went down, they went down hard, and that became the problem for us. So I'll talk about that a little bit more. But what I'd like to do is make sure you understand that from that, we did get a lot out of it. We did have tabletop exercises. There were things that we did, a lot of rudimentary things, but what we learned was you really, really, really have to have a good plan. And you really, really, really have to have people committed to that plan. And you all have to be on the same page. So from that, I wanted to show you what it looked like one day after the flood. This was our casino at Talking Stick Resort. Now, each one of these devices is a slot machine, and each one of those slot machines had a guest sitting at it, and each one of those guests had to leave their money in that slot machine. So if you think about the size of our hotel, and this is 1 million square feet, there were approximately 950 machines on the floor. Each one of them had cash in it. Not only the cash from that player, but cash throughout the day. So you can get an idea of how much money is sitting on that floor. And this is just regular slots. This does not include high limits, which were also impacted as well. So what I'll do now is I'll show you the video, and you can get an idea of what this was like. This is 2 days after the flood, and hopefully everybody can see that okay. So we had a drone fly over and take some of these aerial shots, and you can start to see the water that was here from 2 days after the flood. Now, let me explain what happened. This is Talking Stick Golf Resort. This is a really nice golf course, and if you ever have the opportunity to play there, it's a fantastic place to play. It's on the community reservation. So what they did was there was a lot of slow play because players were losing their ball in these areas here. There was a lot of weeds, a lot of trees, and to improve play, they regroomed the course. And you can see, and naturally, after they regroomed the course, we had a microburst. We had the perfect storm. And so let's just play a little bit longer. You can get an idea of just the mass and magnitude of this thing. So as we pan back over, you can start to see all the water on the course. This is Arizona. There's not that much water anywhere. So as we come along, this is the driving range, and we'll give you a better shot of that in a moment. But right here is where the magic happens. So let's just play a little further on. And you can see the course as the water comes, and you will see some arrows come here shortly, but this is the driving range for the players. This is hole number 1 right here of the north course. This is hole number 1 of the south course. And right here in this area is hole number 2. And it just coincidentally is right beside our building. Well, that's nice to know. And here comes the water. And this is how the path it took, and just, it had to go somewhere. And this is another shot of it just coming in from the driving range. And now it'll start to take you towards hole number 2 of the south course as we pan over hole number 1. To help alleviate the problem, the community immediately put in a ditch to let the water run to get out of the way. This is hole number 2, the casino. As you can see, this is 3 days after the flood. This is just an idea of the amount of equipment that we had sitting at the property to help correct and dry out the inside of the building. It totally ruined the course. A couple of the holes anyways, as you can see, there was a lot of work that had to be done, a lot of trenching that needed to be done. We'll come back and we'll swing back and take a look at the back of this building. And this is our loading dock area. And if you see here, these are our coolers. This is where all the power is generated. All right. So you have a better understanding of that. Back here is our diesel engines that run the property. They're massive engines that run the property. A power outage. So as we swing back over and we come back over, you can see these are the coolers here, the chillers. This is where the engines sit. This is our loading dock area, our parking lot, the casino and ballroom area, casino, main casino here, the hotel. So now we're looking at the loading dock. And you can see the water, oops, I'm so sorry. So you can see where the water line hit that went that high. And so what had happened was all the debris from the golf course flowed onto our property. Since all the construction and reconstruction of the golf course happened, it created a natural draw towards our building, and the twigs and leaves and rocks and anything you can imagine after the cloudburst, after the microburst happened, everything clogged our drains. And that's what it was. That's what caused this incident. Now we will watch. This is a scene from the Blob. Actually, this is what happened. And I'll call your attention down to the corner at 57 seconds after midnight. This is the time right here, 58, 59. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And you can see the water starting to roll and roll and roll. Keep your eye on this door. My little friend will come out and take a look, and he'll panic and he'll go back inside. Now, I also want to point out, this is an elevator door. This goes down to a lower floor where we have storage. This connects to the hotel. This is a path tunnelway that we have that is used for me and for a number of groups that as we bring in equipment to the building, instead of hitting the loading dock, we come here, we put it in the tunnel, it's secure, and we take care of it. We distribute it later in the day, later that week, whatever. So anyways, so we'll go on. It's 1:07 in the morning. Keep your eye on the door. I like to watch. There's also a piece of wood that comes floating through here. It's kind of funny just to see it swirling around, swirling around. There's my little friend. And you can see the mess that it's causing. And it's going down. There's my piece of wood. I love to watch that thing, just a pallet just going along. And you can start to see the water rise and the water rise. Here it is. This is our pool. This is the hotel on this side. Over here is the casino. Water is going to the hotel now. Water is going into the casino. And it starts to creep into the building. It's 1:30 in the morning. We are now 1 hour and 27 minutes into this. So, as you recall, I said this was our little tunnel that we have. And this is our storage area, all the things we put in here, and here comes a floating box in this tunnel. I will tell you that we pumped 2.6 million gallons of water out of this tunnel. I will call your attention to these boxes right here. Every 4 years, 5 years, we replace the monitors in the hotel rooms, the TVs. So my plan was on Monday of that week we positioned 250 monitors, the hotel TVs, if you will, in the tunnel for distribution up into the hotel to take and replace the old TVs. So that kind of got delayed. But we can watch our little box come floating downstream, merrily down the stream. So one other thing I want to point out, these are all lines up here. These are power lines, electrical lines, sewage lines. We run from the hotel back over to the facility center. One of the things that happened and was that there was a workman's cart below the screen that as this water filled up, started to float, and it was a large workman's cart. And as it floated, it just rolled along and banged into these pipes, into the sewage pipes, which made it Class 3 water. It's 1:27 in the morning.
And you still have power at that point, because obviously the cameras on, the lights are on.
We had power, we had power, we had power, we have no power.
Yeah, there you go. I thought that must be coming anytime soon.
And as you can see, the water lines starting to recede. We had men go and we started pumping. We had people walk around, try to find the drain and drain it. Can you hear me okay, Simon?
Yeah, it's good.
Good. These are people I actually know. You can see all the debris. Everything from the golf course landed on our property. And you see this is a lower level water line, but we'll show you how high it was on a door. So that's the tunnel. That's the walkway to the tunnel. If that gives you any indication of how much water was in there and how much had to get pumped out. And all of this water was contaminated. Everything in our Blue Coyote restaurant on the first floor, destroyed. All the kitchen, there's a kitchen behind there, it was destroyed. Trees knocked down, patio, bricks removed. This is passive water. So this is entryways into the hotel. This is one of our office areas. That's completely shining, that's water. This is a kitchen area. Our banquets, facilities, kitchens, all destroyed. Our convention center floor, new carpet, all ruined. You get an idea how high it was. What a mess. So, all of these units are what powers the building. You can have diesel engines, but if you don't have these, the capacitors, you don't go anywhere. Every one of these units was ruined. And when you see the next part, this is our first floor. These are our really, really nice first floor rooms. Have an entryway into the patio, really nice area. All the boards had to be, all the particle boards had to be removed, all the furniture displaced. Kind of speaks for itself. So one of the problems was, now we have no air conditioning. We have a sealed building. We had stale air. It became very hot, very intense. So we brought in a number of air handling units, and we pumped air into the building just to keep the workers somewhat cool and get some of the contaminated air out of the building. Generator after generator after generator. So there you get an idea of how large that area is, and 24 feet wide, 12 feet high. This is when we could finally get in there after, and you can see all the damage to the pipes. This is the, we're running clean air into the building. Yeah. We removed all the carpet, sealed up areas. So those units that I showed you with the doors shut, this is them with the doors open. And that doesn't work anymore. So these were all the units, everything was destroyed. Everything had to be replaced. So we did come up, I do want to mention that we came up in September. We came up like September, I think it was like the 28th or something like that. I have it in my notes here for a second. But honestly, we could not get these parts. We had to wait 6 months to get parts. All these units had to be replaced. Our other restaurant on the first floor, completely destroyed. All furniture, all kitchen, everything had to be torn out and replaced. So I want to talk about these a little bit. I get a better picture here in a second. So we had no power. We literally had no power. The only thing we could do was we went to a substation about a quarter of a mile away, and we ran an extension cord from the substation to our building to get us up and operational. And that extension cord, then we distributed out all the power. We actually created we created electrical boxes throughout the property on the first floor, things that you don't see as a guest, to run power. And every one of these cables here is extension cords, power lines that we then roped and carried across this set of stanchions to make it all work. So you're seeing stuff that not too many people have seen, but that's how we got power back to the building. So September 24th, we reopened. We had a line. We had a line at the building to get in. Amazing how many people came back so quickly.
Amazing thing is you were back in a month later. How is that even possible?
Well, we really couldn't if we wouldn't have dug put an extension cord in place. We essentially took and distributed out all that power. A lot of the facilities had to stay closed. We still continued on with construction, but you have to remember, we are a gaming facility, and so gaming was number one. So getting gaming up and getting things on the first or second floor were more important than anything else. And that became the priority. And that really, I'll talk about that, but it was really interesting how you set up your priorities differently when you leave than when you come back. So loss of power, we had to close gaming. Our food and beverage, all the things associated with food and beverage were lost in the entire building. All perishables were donated. As you can see, Orange Sky, if you ever had the opportunity to do fine dining at our 15th floor restaurant, or if you haven't, please take an opportunity to go do that. It's a beautiful sight from up there. You get a beautiful view of Camelback. Excuse me. We have a number of wines up there, and we had so many wines that we couldn't get them off the floor. So what we did was we loaded them up onto crates, and we had a helicopter come and lift them off and take them to storage. Just to give you an idea of the cost and magnitude of the issues that were happening. The conference, every area was damaged. Talk about the guests for a moment. As we lost power, guests were awakened. We had to let them know of the issue. They were asked to leave the building. We gathered them up and we took them to Denny's at the pavilions. And we said, stay here, we'll get back to you. They had to walk down all those flights of stairs, which was really a trip for some. We have a wide variety of guests, and so our security team had to, there was a lot of work that needed to be done to help people down and get them to safety. Not only the guests, but the employees as well. We then had the security guards go back up, bag up all their belongings, package them up, and then several hours later, we brought the guests back. During that period of time, our reservationist staff, our hotel staff, a number of people worked at finding local nearby hotels to give them reservations, to take their reservation and to give them someplace to stay, all on us. No one paid. We paid for everything. All of our sales conferences had to be rebooked, and that went on for a long time, and we had to give out a number of refunds. And again, our entertainment, all those things were canceled for that period of time. So that was the impact to the pro, right? Back-to-back storms. I talked about the TVs, and I showed you those in the tunnel. There they are. And again, my favorite picture of trying to get to the tunnel. So each one of these TVs had to be torn apart. The boxes had to be separated from the monitors. The boxes were destroyed. The monitors were hosed down and then had to be sanitized. They were given to our insurance agent who took them, and I have no idea why they wanted them, but that's what they did. So there was 240 brand new TVs in the box that were all destroyed. That was ugly.
Well, Brian, we've got a question. I don't know whether you're even able to answer this because it may be private information, but Michael's asking us what the total cost was and what did insurance cover, but I'm not sure that's whether you're even able to say that.
So we had catastrophic insurance, and we exceeded our catastrophic insurance maximum. I think we did that within 12 days. So it cost a hell of a lot of money, but yeah, I can't tell you that.
No, of course not.
So I was called in. What are we going to do with the people? How are we going to communicate to people? There were a lot of questions that we really didn't have good answers for as an organization. Executive management, how were they supposed to talk to each other? Do our employees know not to talk to the press? How important is that? And how do we make sure that they all know that that's the case? So there was a lot of things that came into play at 5 o'clock in the morning on August 11th. It was incredible. So, and then one of the questions I kept asking, and I always ask this question, and I did it during this pandemic. As soon as we were told to leave, My question to my group was, how do we get back? Okay, that to me is the most important thing. How do we get back? And how do we get back eloquently? So that was really, really the driving thing for all of our group. So when you think about priorities, I always think about the movie The Jerk. I know that's a silly analogy, but if you remember, Bernadette Peters kicks Steve Martin out of the house, and as he's leaving the house, he says, all I need is a chair. All I need is this mirror. All I need is this lamp. And he's asking for silly things that he thinks important. And the real answer is, I got to get people paid. I got to get people in position to continue to work. How are we going to do that given that their entire work environment is gone? You know, there is no gaming at Talking Stick Resort. So those people, they're off. They're going to go work at Casino Arizona. They're going to get scheduled in there. People are going to have to share shifts. Things are going to happen differently. But all the people that were working needed housing. All those people needed to have access to data. So all of a sudden, the important things were getting people paid, making sure our vendors were available, getting our facilities data and a way to track their employees while on property at Talking Stick Resort. So we had a whole bunch of things that the IT department took charge of. For getting people in position, we are fortunate that our training and our human resources and our warehouse operations are not on property, and neither is IT actually. The IT department is actually located at Chaparral and 101 in Chaparral. And so the offices there have some large training rooms. We turned those training rooms into large offices. We took spare Cisco switches, set them up, made rows and rows of tables, took all the extra PCs that we had in storage and some that were not damaged in the flood. We brought them in and set them up on tables, and we had people face-to-face working across a small conference table. And we had 200 people that we repositioned within a day. Honestly, they had Monday off, they came back to work on Tuesday, and everything was in place. They had data, phone, and printing, secure printing capabilities, and all the communications they needed. Facilities, with no power at the casino, one of the things that it doesn't have as well is the ability, there's no cellular service on the reservation. It's very limited. Once you cross over the 101, there's nothing there. We had to set up a way for communications to work, point-to-point communications to work with Chaparral, so that we could use a generator from the facilities group, set up some PCs, set up a time clock, set up an ability for people to work, to have access to data, to see schematics and drawings of the building. We did that within 2 or 3 days as well. The hotel, notification to guests, they were lucky because all the hotel systems are actually housed at Chaparral. So they had the ability to work in one of the conference rooms, hotel operators, hotel sales, all those staffs. We were able to position them in various rooms there to make it work for them. Excuse me, I don't talk a lot. So when I do talk, I get a little dry. I'd like to be having a glass of wine like some of you are.
Not very long now, mate. You'll be all right. Doing well.
So I hope I'm not going too fast, but we created we were asked, how do we talk to the employees on property? And what's interesting is, there are 3,500 employees on our property, and there are over 30 languages spoken. So it created, and even in this day and age, there are people that do not have PCs, there are people that do not have cell phones. and they're unbanked. So it makes it difficult to communicate with them. There is a common platform that we have where employees can go and look at their payroll information. They can download their history and make changes to their programs. We took the splash screen and we made that our homepage for communicating to all of our employees. We also set up phone recordings for people to call in. We tried everything in any way we could to make sure that there was an opportunity to communicate and send a singular message out to everyone. As I said, we created mini networks for the facilities. We created a number of mobile hotspots as well. On property, we went through hundreds of batteries to make things work. And the other thing we had to make sure that everyone was aware of, there are still bad people out there. This is when they thrive. You know, when you're floundering, they see an opportunity. They're sending fake invoices. They're sending, they're trying to get into our network. We made sure that our IT security teams communicated messages out to everyone about being cautious and taking care, because there are bad people out there, as much as I hate to say that. And certain people do love a crisis. Just going on with this, I want to focus on the two dark areas here, the assess the data center status and potential damage. All these other things, you know, we talked about a little bit, secured printing and all that. We created a universal time clock for people so they could actually clock in. We could account for them on property. We were very concerned about losing somebody in the building or somebody being injured. So there was a way for us to know who was in the building and who was not in the building. But I want to focus on the data center and the status of the data center. That's near and dear to me. And I want to say that all the other departments did tremendous jobs. And you know, they have great stories as well. I'm just going to tell you about what happened with us in the data center. So there's always a joke about building, I think it was the Apollo astronauts talked about just before their flight, they talked about, oh, this was built by the lowest bidder. Our building was built by the lowest bidder. And always there's things value engineered out. We went back and made some modifications later. Our system crashed and crashed hard. Now we had all that sales data for the day sitting in the data center on property. It didn't get wet, but high humidity, enclosed area, temperatures rising. It was stale air. Everything that you're not supposed to have your data center look like, this looked like. So I needed to get in there. I needed to make sure that our people needed to get in there and make sure that our systems worked, nothing was damaged. If something was damaged, I could have lost sales for the day, which equated to millions and millions of dollars. Did something warp? What happened? So I needed an hour. I pleaded with the facilities director, give me an hour. I've got to make sure that this is all gracefully dropped down and see if I have an issue. Do I need to take this data and get it? Do I need to take these systems and get them examined? What do I need to do? Our engineers came in, the facility engineers came in, figured out the power schematics, started to power up the data center, and something went wrong. The power that we thought was powering the data center was not the power that was powering the data center. We immediately had to shut down after several hours. Some smart people, we took the day. We walked the wires. We literally walked the wires through the building to see where they went and where this power was being generated from. And it blows my mind, but we have a buffet area, and above the buffet area is a service area, and our power was coming from the hotel's buffet service area. So that's subsequently being fixed. but no one knew that. Our drawings were not correct. Our schematic, our information was incorrect. Luckily, we then powered up our data center. We examined the files. Everything appeared to be fine, and we gracefully brought down the systems and turned everything off. And within that hour, and Simon, you could probably attest to this, the heat in the room was amazing. I didn't realize how important, it's important to keep things cool. You just didn't realize how hot a room can get so quickly. So we brought the systems down, and we went about other changes and fixes. So what we did, we really had an opportunity here. We looked and said, there's projects that we had planned. We still have all the displays we want to put in. So why don't we put them in? We ordered 240 additional displays from our vendor. We took the other displays that we had in the warehouse, brought those up, and they had powered, the facilities group had finally gotten some power to the hotel elevators, service elevators, so we could take the displays up and mount them. So I kept my people working, doing projects like that. Now, it was hot. It wasn't the best environment, but they had a purpose. They wanted to do it, and this was an opportunity for us. We replaced all the phones on the property, and we replaced all these switches, and while still providing support to our other casino. And then we continued on with our other projects that weren't associated with the flood or just day-to-day business operations. So just want to show you that. This is kind of some of the things we did. This was an opportunity for us, so that's what we did. Getting back, so we talked about how important it was to get people paid, get people in position, and the hell with gaming. Well, let's turn that around. Just before it's time to go live, we looked at our strategy and said, we got to get the gaming floor back up. People want food and beverage, and we got to get our cash services in place. That was the driving forces. Those were the things that mattered to us. So our accounting department, our auditing department, our compliance department, our legal teams, everybody that our hotel operations, all those people could wait. Most important thing, let's get gaming up. And that's what we did. We brought back the gaming systems. We brought back our power. Once power was restored to the building, it flowed really quickly. We made sure that we had a plan to account and make sure we have a bigger picture. So when you're doing something, get back to work, making sure that people all understand it, it's important to have that bigger picture. And that's really what we did here. And really, it's funny, everyone thinks their department's really important. And I get that, and they are. It's just that as things start to happen, you no longer need the lamp. You no longer need the book, You need this, this, and this. And you need to make sure you're focused on that. So our job, we assisted all the departments in reconciling. A lot of people thought, okay, we can just start up on day one, we're ready to go. And the reality was we couldn't do that. We really needed to make sure that we accounted for every day from the time of the disaster or the event or the incident, and make sure that we could roll the day every day to make sure that we could account for everything in our business intelligence system. We take and do a number of analysis on gaming data, food and beverage. We take a look at events in the area and how those events impact our gaming. We do a lot of analytical work along those lines. We compare this day, this year to last year, but also to the other casino and see how we're doing at all times. So we have a extensive warehouse. We also needed to take every POS device because we're PCI compliant. We needed to inspect every device. We needed to account for every device, and we needed to make sure they weren't tampered with. So every device was inspected by my IT security team. They were turned over. The sticker on the bottom was looked at, made sure nothing was tampered with, and put back down. They're all weighed to make sure they're still the same, and all that was done. We corrected our electrical issues. And one of the big things we did, and I would recommend this product to everybody, we created a product called, we bought a product called Send Word Now. And essentially it's a texting system. And you can create groups with this texting system that lets you send, in this case, if there's an emergency, it will notify all of IT or all of security. It will also notify the community security and fire and ambulance services. You can also create a group for the blackjack department. Hey, I happen to have a open table tonight. Anybody want to work? And you can respond to it. So a tool like that became invaluable to us to use in all different departments. We do it for minor incidents now. So our security manager will send out a notification to the directors and the chief operations staff, letting them know that there was an incident or a problem and the status of that problem throughout the course of its life cycle. Like I said, we did modify the self-service tool, and we still use that today, even during this pandemic. As we are upgrading our HR system and our financial system, we still use this self-service tool, and we still had to use this self-service splash page for the same thing that we did a few years back. And finally, we got everybody moved back within 2 weeks after opening of the property. So we're really pleased about that. But there was a lot of issues there to get through. So what we learned, from my standpoint, you can always say you got to have a good plan, a good clear objective. You need to get everybody to really believe that their department is maybe subservient to another department. Our guests always come first. Our employees and guests are number one. We have to make sure that everyone's protected and safe. At the closure of the incident, we came back and we did a recovery. We reviewed our plan, we modified our plan, and we really graded ourselves on our performance of how we did and where we could improve. Not knowing and hopefully never having to do that again, but it is now part of our compliance responsibilities to do that annually, to go back to each department and say, have you looked at your plan? Have you updated your plan? Is your call down list as it should be? Do you have all those things in place? Let's take a look at Send Word Now. Where are you? Are all these people still here?
So Bryant, really quick, if you don't mind going back one.
Yep.
This is where we actually have a poll for everybody. So want to make sure everybody's paying attention. About to launch that poll. Couple of questions for everybody. I'll give you about, I don't know, 15 seconds to answer. And maybe 30 seconds. Come on, folks.
And be honest.
Be honest, yes, please. We do appreciate honesty very much.
It's anonymous.
Yeah, I don't know who's saying what.
Exactly.
All I know is the number of people responding. All right. About 16 people. Anybody else? Come on, guys. Maybe a few more. 17. All right. So I will cut it off right about now. So share results. Can everybody see the results of the poll?
Yeah. No, it's very interesting.
So lots of yeses, not on the first question, which is good. Not so many on the yeses on the second one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, to be honest, in my line of business, we help organizations. Part of what we do is also BCDR help and stuff, and it's not unusual, right? A lot of organizations don't have a plan, and if they do have a plan, it's not often tested, frankly, right?
Well, I think it's the all-encompassing plan. I mean, you can have, I had a plan if my data center went down, but I didn't. Who has a plan when their whole building goes down? Right? You've lost gaming operations, you've lost everything, and really that's a driver. So what do you do when it's uninhabitable, right? We took everybody to Denny's. Was that the best thing we could do? Looking back, yeah, I guess it was, but wow, I mean, it's a shame, that's all we could do at the time.
Right. But was that a declared muster point for a disaster? Probably not, right?
No, it was
made on the fly. I would think
it was done on a fly. We had some guest relations people addressing them and any of their needs, and they could go to McDonald's, they could go to. We just asked them to be in that area, and we'll get back to them. So. There was enough places where they could go sit, and we paid for everything.
Right. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Let's finish the slide, and then we can have some questions, because I'm sure there's a lot of people with some questions here. So very useful.
Well, I hope this is covering what you wanted. So.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic.
Good. Okay. Should I go on?
Yeah.
Right. So, it's getting kind of lost where I was, but we needed to make sure we could take care of finance. When we left, getting people to their jobs, most important thing was, number one was, hey, I got to make sure I get people paid. I got to make sure that I have HR responsibilities taken care of. All the financial things need to be addressed. All those things never stop. Gaming, food and beverage, all those things can wait. Now, reverse it when you come back, right? It's just a total reversal of what you did before. And then, people, a lot of directors, they see their department, but they don't see the bigger picture, right? And if you don't step in and say, wait a minute, we do these comparative analysis, poker did well because this happened. Poker did well because that happened. Or the hotel did well because there was an event, there was the horse show or the golf, or the car races or the car show or the sale, all these things, all the spring training, all these things make for a bigger picture. And if you, as the director of IT or the CIO, if you don't step up and say, yes, your information is important, but it also needs all these other things. And there's an appreciation for that, So that's where I think, you kind of earn your money for the day, is when you talk about the bigger picture and making sure that everybody understands that these things need to happen and these things need to occur. So the rolling of the days, knowing that, we track the weather as part of our business analysis. We gather all that information. We know by door how many people exit and enter those doors. Everything is of value to us, so we can do analytical work to figure out how we get better. And so to say, let's start up on Monday, oh, hell no. We got to go back from the event and work our way up. So that's a big deal. And then how do we communicate that to the executives? How do we make sure that we are talking to everybody about the same thing by having the right tools in place? So we need to do that. And then, let's see, I'm sorry. So what else? Just like we did, we made lemonade out of lemons, right? We took all the bad things that happened, all the TVs that were destroyed. We just kept putting TVs in. We went up and did our switches. As they were placing carpet in, we were plugging in wires. We were improving things that happened. Things that we had planned for later in the year, this was a good time to do that. We went and touched everything. at Talking Stick Resort because we could. Needless to say, that was great because it saved a lot of time later in the year when we would have taken down the facility for other reasons. Now this was an opportunity for us, and I can't say that to the management team, but that's what it was. And we kept our people working, and I think, as opposed to a number of them sitting around, because anybody that was deployed for Talking Stick Resort, they really had no place to go. We didn't have that kind of workload without the resort. So that was an opportunity, and that's what we did. And then really come back and let's celebrate what we did. I know this picture is kind of apropos, but this is just part of some of my IT folks who, right after the incident happened, actually went down and salvaged equipment, and this is just some. I could have showed you the whole department because they all worked hand in hand to do cleanup and to save what equipment we could save and get things redeployed so quickly. So my hat's off to every one of those guys that were young men and women there that worked on that project. And then finally, what we learned from that was things we needed to put in the budget for next year. Funny, nobody said no. So that was a good opportunity to say we need to do this, this, and this. And there wasn't one thing turned down from that aspect of it. And then, we had to thank the board for all their support. They paid people. Everyone got paid while we were off, while they were off. It's hard to find people to service workers and the people that make the casino go. So everybody was very good about that. Our police and fire were there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Because there was money in all the slot machines, we had police everywhere with very large guns to make sure that everything was secure. All the ATMs, the ticket readers, all the devices used to cash out your tickets, your ticket in, your ticket out, all those devices had cash in them. We couldn't open them because we couldn't account for them. So there were police everywhere. And the community and everybody really stuck together to make the cleanup go so much better for us. So that's my presentation. I hope that was informative.
Well, I'm not sure I'm going to sleep tonight. Anyway, for any of us who have been in kind of IT operations and running, mission critical IT, that's a kind of worst nightmare. And it was very interesting because, the data center itself was actually okay. Well, it wasn't the one that specifically had the disaster. It was everything feeding it, power, cooling, everything else. And as we all know, if you have an instant power off in the computer room, and that's not graceful. If you don't do graceful shutdowns of equipment, you've got real problems bringing some of that equipment back up. I mean, all your data and the positions and stuff can be totally out, right? As you know, so
everything was gone, and all the communications, everything that runs through our MDF was completely out.
So must have some questions, guys. Surely, please speak up.
And feel free to unmute yourself so you can do it yourself. No questions?
Hey, Bryant, this is Jeff Uchida. I just had a question I put into the window here. I'm just wondering, are you allowed or have you planned for off-site ability for your core applications, either cloud or something else, so that should the data center actually have gotten more damaged, you wouldn't have come up as soon, I gather, if that had occurred?
Well, so our core systems actually sit at Chaparral. The gaming systems sit on property. So gaming systems are unique, right? Although they're just servers and they connect to the switches that go under the floor into the gaming machines. my responsibility ends at the gaming machine. So as soon as the wire hits the gaming machine, that's the director of slots.
Okay.
So gaming systems are have to be by law on property. So I can't go anywhere without those, right? All the other systems we do have a hot site set up. Again, as a tribal organization, I would tell you that everything is on the res. So we have a hot site on the res that we manage 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, fully dark, and that's how we do it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. We are going to cloud, just so you know, there is some cloud work being done. Gaming side, not so much. That is, you know, the regulatory side of gaming is way behind the curve on where we should be by state and by tribal authority. So.
Understand. I kind of assume.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anyone else? I think you shocked everybody, Brian.
Yeah, that was a lot of water.
Well, what amazes me is how on earth could you have brought everything back up and have you actually had guests back in within September?
Yeah, we since the upper floors were not damaged, we did decontaminate every room. You know, they were cleaned naturally. So we had like the first and second floors were unavailable, and then we could sell floors up from there up to 14, so or 13 or 12. So that's what we did. And we did, you know, as always, we, you know, just like we did when we opened up on June 1st, we gave some amazing rates to people to come and have an opportunity to stay at the hotel. We gave some super rates.
Right.
Brian, this is Harvey. Who is designated as the overall project manager to put this, you know, disaster back together again?
So our facilities director takes the lead for all of the recovery of the property. So he brought in workmen, different contracting firms to air out the property, and working hand in hand with the community. That's how we do that. Really, the facilities manager and his team have all that responsibility to do the cleanup. So there's housekeeping gets involved. You know, naturally we had a security team as well. So our CEO, you know, naturally runs the show, but when it comes to the nuts and bolts of things, our facilities guy did a great job.
Thank you.
I gave him a nice south of the border gift, so he was very happy.
Hi, this is Laura Hemingway. I have a question. You were talking about how finite your analytics are and that you had to go back to the moment that the environment went down and recreate information to the moment where you restarted. What kind of logic did you use, or what kind of algorithms did you use to emulate that time frame so that you were comfortable with your restart points for your analytics?
Sure. What we did was each one of the gaming operations. So poker and blackjack could exit eloquently. They basically closed, cashed out, and guests, and were able to close their books. All right. Naturally, we didn't have the automated side of it, so we wait. And then food and beverage, same thing. Food and beverage systems are actually housed at Chaparral, so we were able to go right up until that moment of closure and close out those tickets. Everything else was probably voided out. The big thing was slot machines. So as soon as we could cash out the end of day for those slot machines, we then took all those end of days, and it was the same number. We just rolled it forward for every day.
So doing a day-to-day comparison. So I guess some places would call same-store sales. How did you?
Right.
Yeah. How did you account for those missing days?
Yeah, so that just showed 0.
It showed 0. Okay.
Yeah, it showed 0.
So when we were running through this yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying to Bryant, you know, what happened with the people at the slot machines who had accumulated credit, right? Because they'd won something and they left it in the machine. And you actually had to go through and use video camera evidence and stuff.
That's correct. So each one of So each one of our we have super duper cameras. As you can imagine, we can actually tell you quarter up, quarter down on a table. If you put a card in a player's card, we knew exactly how much cash you put in on that player's card, and we could refund you whatever you did not play. If you did not have a player's club card, that made it a little bit more difficult. We knew exactly how much you put in, but we had to identify you. So we went back to footage from that night, and you'd tell us, I was sitting at this chair, and we would look and say, okay, let's take a look at the film, and we would go through and try to identify you at that point. At the same time, we were actually doing the Arizona State Poker Championship. And we had players that went out on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday afternoon. And of course, they're saying, well, you know, this thing's all voided. I want my money back. And we're like, no,
yeah,
it's gone, you know, so you do not get your money back. Good try.
Nice try.
Nice try.
You were already knocked out. It doesn't matter about it.
That's right. You were knocked out. So,
Kathy, I think you were raising your hand.
I wanted to ask a question. Given the scope of what needed to be done, your resources and everybody's resources must have been working virtually, if not really, round the clock. Were you able to bring in any burst capacity assistance, or did you just try and keep them all fueled and rested so they could do this?
Yeah, so we had strict hours of operation. We did have people working 7/24. We do have, and that's why it was important that we had some way to account for workers. You know, in the retail business, I'll just say in general, you know, when people clock in, you know, they like to say, oh, I clocked in and I'm at my workstation. Well, we made it so your clock in, our time clocks were specific to your work area. And so we had to break that logic and just make it so everybody came into one door, clocked in, and could work. And then we could see who had left and who was still there. And we did that for even contractors. We were able to track all of our contractors as well, so we could manage the workload. And yeah, we had people there 7 days a week, 24 hours a day through that entire period. So from August 10th to September 24th, I don't think we were ever dark as far as having people on property doing something to fix something. My IT group, I have a 7x24 operation as it is for the casino and the hotel and both properties. Those continue to operate. We just had them operate out of a different area. There was nothing that they needed to do at night. All my workers at my audiovisual team, my network guys, my desktop guys, they could go in the next day and work. So I was able to manage that. My night shift, my graveyard group, I just had them work at the other property with the other guy.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's a great question. There was a lot of people there.
So I think we're coming up on the top of the hour. I'd like to close it out in a minute or so. Is there any other final question for Bryant?
Well, I was just going to ask whether or not they had third-party auditors that needed to come in order to be able to validate it, especially on the gaming machines, because otherwise it's your word versus their word.
Yes. So the state has an auditing group. They follow right behind our slots team. As we close out a device, the state of Arizona has a gaming group, and then we have a community regulatory agency. just as an give you an example, I get audited 5 times a year, my department. So every gaming machine is checked and rechecked by a certified auditor accountant from the state and from the community, along with people from the community, the casino. So yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you want to hear one funny story before I leave?
Yeah.
Okay. So we called the community police department to bring up a secure vehicle to take the cash out of our safe that was located in the first floor. After a lot of discussion within the community, 3 pickups showed up with policemen armed to the hilt. And we loaded the money on the back of a pickup truck and took it down to Casino, Arizona.
Honestly, it's like some sort of scene from Ocean's 11, isn't it? Or something?
It was. And that is a true story.
Well,
and it is.
That nicely segues.
You know, you're thinking you're going to see an armored car, you're going to see some type of armored vehicle, and 3 Ford pickups pull up with men with guns.
That sort of segues into what I was going to say at the end, which was you have got a lifetime of cocktail stories to tell from this accident, Brian.
One of the things we did learn out of this, and it made the pandemic situation so much better. Every laptop that that our employees have turned in, and we've replaced, renewed, upgraded, we actually created a cabinet within our data center area, and we keep those laptops up to date with software. They might not be the most fashionable or the most operational, but instead of turning them in, they've become part of our DR plan. And now, with this work at home environment, they've been, I can look back and say, what a great thing we did here by adding these devices to our environment, instead of just, thinking that they were going to be disposed of. So just some food for thought as you go about your planning in the future.
Yeah. So I just want to say, hats off to you, man, because that was one experience, and you really pulled it out. That you and the team did a phenomenal job. It's something, you see the best of people in those kind of situations, and clearly you guys rose to the occasion and did it. So well done. I think there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of learning for us there. The bit at the end there, maybe just keep a pool of equipment. Doesn't have to be the latest, greatest, but it's available. I think it's a great idea.
It works.
Yeah. So thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
I hope everybody enjoyed that. Yeah, we're all going to give you a virtual applause. Yeah, that's going to be tough to beat. So well done. Really appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. I hope you got a lot out of that and kind of enjoyed it.